Hey guys, how you doing? So, gonna talk about the coronavirus. I wanted to get away from it, but it's impossible to get away from it. So we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna give my thoughts on what's happened so far, how we should be approaching it, um, as also people who are trying to recover from a CFS, fibromyalgia, and other stuff like that. And gonna talk about how I see things moving forward. Some bad things, some good things. So I'm just going to reflect on my own experience going through it. So today I spent the whole day reading a bit of research, some articles. Basically, I spent the whole day immersed in coronavirus information. For better or worse, I don't recommend it, but it's what I did, and it was okay actually for me. I don't regret it. I don't think I made a mistake doing that. I wanted to catch up on the science, on what the epidemiologists are saying, what the doctors are saying, and assess sort of the political response around the world. And of course, it's a huge task, and I didn't do a perfect job or anything, but I just want to share how I see things. And my basic message is this: it's bad, and we have to face it. And there are a lot of emotions that can arise, um, and that's okay. It's normal to feel those emotions in these times. Uh, so we're not going to deny what's going on. We're going to have to accept it, because denying it is not going to work. But we're not going to be slaves to it. We're not going to be defeated by it. There are things we can do. There are constructive steps we can take, and that's what we're going to do. And we can manage our emotions. We can manage uh, our response to this crisis in a constructive way. So here's the problem. I'm gonna be U.S. centric, uh, but I think a lot of it applies from around the world too. Wherever you are, it's come to you by now. It's come to you, and there are three. It's bad. It's bad. People are dying. The healthcare systems are getting overwhelmed or are about to get overwhelmed, and everybody's at risk. Young people are at risk. People who are older are at greater risk, but younger people are also at risk. People with pre-existing conditions are at higher risk, but people without pre-existing conditions are at risk as well. There's no one who's not at risk, and we definitely need the social distancing measures. Otherwise, it's just going to go through the population exponentially, even at an even greater rate. More people will become infected all at once. The healthcare system is going to be completely overwhelmed. Those people who require hospitalizations, they're just going to be left to cope on their own. People who need care for other reasons are not going to get that care. I think you understand what's going on. I don't think I need to explain it to you. Uh, Unfortunately, we haven't had the testing uh, in the numbers needed, especially in the US. Some people around the world have done it much, much better, like South Korea, for example. Um, and so here are the three things we need to do. Here's what can you do? You can do these three things. First of all, social distancing. That's important. We have to do it. We have to do it. I know it's very isolating, and I mean, I spent prior to this with CFS and fibro. I spent my life had been in lockdown, so I'm not excited about this at all. Especially given what I'd been through, and some of you probably have been through something similar, maybe even for longer than I have. Uh, but there's just no avoiding it. It has to be done, and it's isolating. I try to keep in touch with people by Skype, you know, Zoom meetings, whatever. Just any kind of contact I can get online. Sometimes watching like a YouTube video or a podcast, you kind of feel like some podcasts give you that room, like you're in the room with hanging out with people. So just find ways. Don't just okay. It's not like real life, hanging out with friends or whatever, but find ways. But we have to social distance, only come out of the house when you absolutely need to, for groceries or whatever. Try to go out when there's nobody around, So that's number one. Number two, wear a mask, both to protect yourself and to protect others. Any kind of mask, anything is better than nothing. A homemade mask from like a t-shirt, that's still gonna do something. Originally, when this thing started, there was um, a lot of like doctors and authorities were saying, oh, a mask is no good, because it's not sealed. So like, yeah, that is a problem, but the effect is not zero. It's something, and everything counts, both to protect yourself and to protect others. And it's also a symbol, like, hey, we're fighting this, we're in this together, that kind of thing. It's like a talisman. So if you have like a respirator, that's great. You can actually disinfect it by putting it in 70 degrees Celsius for half hour in an oven, suspended. There's been a study done that shows that, and you can reuse it many, many times, so you only need one respirator. If you have surgical masks, that's great. If you don't have it, you can make them from, you can just use cloth of any kind. Cotton is not ideal, but it's something. You can put some filtering material, like from AC filters. Basically, Google homemade masks and just look for that. And every time you go out, you leave the house, wear a mask, put on a mask. And the third thing, everybody knows, but I'm going to say it, wash your hands. 20 seconds, wash it for real, wash your hands. Okay, other things, like clean your phone, blah, 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 but I don't want to overwhelm you, and I don't want to overwhelm myself with, like, you're always doing things, you start getting a little maybe too anxious, too obsessive about it. And but those three things, I think that if you focus on that, I think that's great. That's what I'm doing. I'm focused on doing those three things. And now managing anxiety and obsessive behavior, I'm going to tell you guys, I've been sick for like a month. Not seriously sick, like a cold, like a mild cold, and I don't feel great, But I'm able, I'm not like bedridden or anything like that. So I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I don't have it. Maybe it's just a cold plus the stress of the situation is making me feel that way. I won't know until I get tested. But I have had days and moments where I'm very, very anxious, very, very anxious, to the point, and this is excessive, and this is not in proportion with what's going on, but I'll just have these thoughts like, oh my God, am I able to breathe okay? In fact, I'm breathing okay. I'm not like coughing or anything, but I'll have like some sensation in my chest, and I'll start like freaking out, So this is hard to do, but we have to do it. I had to do it. Said, hey, just a second. I think you know what's going on here. Your mind is on high alert. It's been on high alert. It's been hypervigilant before any of this began. And now there's this other threat, which is a real threat. So we have to take it seriously, but we cannot get overwhelmed by it. We cannot over respond. We cannot let our threat detection system in our minds, brains, to overreact to it, because that's not good for us also. So we have to take the right measures, which we've just discussed, and then we got to learn to sort of let go of the fears. So I've had these kinds of thoughts like, oh my God, am I able to breathe? Something wrong, like in my, or like I get a pain somewhere. Oh my God, is that my lungs? Could it be my lungs? Could I be like, oh my God, am I, and luckily that hasn't been the case. And I had to say, hey man, stop. Let's look at it realistically. You're okay. You're just freaking out. And that's okay. You're allowed to freak out. Just realize you're freaking out. And just let the freak out. Actually, this is a technique. Okay, you can freak out. Just don't freak out about freaking out. Right? In fact, do the opposite. let the freak out in. Say, okay, come on, let's freak out. Okay, let's be as afraid as possible. And it has this paradoxical effect where when you allow yourself fully to freak out, you kind of calm down. You're like, all right, yeah, I'm allowed to freak out, and I'll freak out if I want to, but I don't really want to. So I've had some very, very tough moments, and that's how I've handled them. It's a mental game, you know. You just have to continuously remind yourself, you know, that you're okay, and if God forbid you're not okay, just do your best, you know, to get help, um, to rest, uh, and hopefully, you know, that'll be sufficient in your case. Um, I mean, I know, given I have like 144 subscribers right now, someone has been touched by it very directly. I feel maybe someone close to them has suffered greatly, or maybe even something worse. And I'm sorry if that's happened to you. And so this whole thing makes me angry because of the political response to it. It hasn't been great. The authorities around the world have not done a good job, with some exceptions. Not in the U.S. In the U.S., there are some, you know, a few people who have sort of been moving this in the right direction, but the majority in the political sphere, they're not doing a good job at all. They're responsible for many thousands of deaths that have come and that are to come, and that's made me very angry. And when I get angry, I get sad. I don't know if you can tell from my, I think you can, that I'm quite sad right now. I'm kind of depressed. It's okay. I'm allowed to be depressed. But this is what happens to me when I get angry. I actually get depressed. Um, I've noticed this for a while now, that anytime I get really angry, it's like I turn inward and I just, it's automatic. It's automatic. And I watch that happen in myself, you know, and that's what's happening right now. So that's just another thing to be mindful of, you know, just to, I think a lot of people have that kind of a response to anger. And so just be okay with it. Just understand where it's coming from. Like if you're feeling down, understand that it could be this mechanism playing out of anger that is being suppressed. But I do think we can get through this. We will get through this because we've got a lot of scientists, we've got a lot of doctors, we've got a lot of people with the right ideas, and we will prevail eventually. And I think going forward, what's going to happen is, well, first, everybody's going to be at home for as long as it takes for the numbers to start going down, for the cases to start significantly decreasing. Then it'll be time to slowly let people out into the world. And I think everyone will have to wear a mask for a while. It'll just have to be our reality for a while. When you're out, you're going to have to wear a mask. In the meantime, there is hope for vaccine. It'll take a while, maybe 12 months, maybe 18 months. But from what I read, this particular virus, it is actually quite possible to develop a vaccine. But of course, it'll have to go through all the stages of testing it out, making sure it's safe. And guys, I really don't want to hear about, you know, the dangers of vaccines and stuff. I'm not ready for that. I mean, if that's your opinion, I get it. That's fine. But let's not discuss it here. And we're going to get antibody tests, which are not which are tests that can detect if you've had it and you've developed an immune response, antibodies in your immune system, and you're sort of immune to it. Then we'll know that. And when those tests become widely available wherever you are, then that'll be another step forward, because you'll be able to know, okay, I am immune, I can go out into the world, and it's safe. Now, this immunity, it's still unclear how long it'll last, but it will last. It will not just be like a month or two. I think it'll be like maybe a year or something like that. Again, you know, the doctors will figure that out. The scientists, the medical scientists will work out the exact numbers, and they'll keep track of this. But that will be the realities. A lot of people will have already had it and will contract it and get through it. Some will have no symptoms at all, and will be able to detect who's gone through that process, and it'll be safe for them to go out into the world. Treatments, there are different lines being pursued. Nothing yet that's great. I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not gonna like talk too much about it. But from what I've seen, there for certain contexts, for certain difficult cases, like they're doing things. Okay, so there are things that are happening. I don't want to like get bogged down in the details of it, but I just want to say that from what I read, there's hope for a bright future for us, even though the present is very, very difficult. Okay. So this been his I feel better, guys. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity for sort of YouTube therapy for myself. And I think there's plenty of reason to be hopeful, many reasons to be hopeful, and in your personal recovery, this is affecting things. This is affecting things, of course. So if it's pushed you back, yeah, it's pushed me back too. It's pushed people back, and unfortunately, that's reality right now. But it's nothing that you can't manage. It's nothing that you can't manage. You may have those difficult moments like I had, and I may have more, going forward. But I'll manage it, and you can manage it too. You've gotta have that part of you, that's sort of the overseeing everything and making sure everything is running okay. Like if a part of your brain starts like going a little overboard, this other part turns on and say, hey, it's okay, I love you, we're okay. Maybe you're overreacting in this particular case. We've taken measures, we've done what we can. Now the best thing for us is, to the extent possible at every given moment, to stay calm. So yeah, let me know how you're doing. I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're staying healthy, and I hope you're able to cope. And we will get through this. We will get through this. It's a difficult time. It's this period in life we'll always remember, all of us. But we'll get through it. Okay. Peace.